coming to you live from the Adventurous Publications / IYFA Twitch stream. How's it going, everybody? Say hi, chat. We're gonna watch this video from Ben McCulley on Twitter, and we're gonna go down the Twitter thread about James O'Keefe and Project Veritas and talk to chat about it, and maybe dig into it a little bit more. Imagine being used as a political pawn from childhood. Yeah, it really is about Greta. Yeah, it really is tragic.
After being stripped of all my authority, I saw my father and gave him a hug.
Irrelevant.
Realizing just how honest and real of a man he is. Both my parents are as genuine and down-to-earth as a son could ever have. It's true you never really know someone until you go through hell with them.
Generally,
back in the carriage house 13 years ago, the feds would come to my home to make sure that I was inside my house, administering random drug tests and rifling through my expenses to make sure I wasn't lying about the strawberry ice cream I bought at 7-Eleven. I didn't have any money, but they went through my debit card statements and tried to get me to sign things to prove I wasn't lying. There were federal agents showing up at my parents' house. There were no donors, there were no supporters, and I was not trending on Twitter. My father went through this hell with me and stood up to those bullies on the front lawn and told them to stop harassing our family. And at that point, that's all I had, was him. I was otherwise completely alone. I will never forget that. Now the good news, we're no longer alone.
That is heart-wrenching. It looks like that statement was cut off, though.
When I left the office on February 6th after being...
Statement from Project Veritas. Oh boy, that is a monster of a tweet. All right, let's go through this. Statement from Project Veritas Board of Directors. Today, James O'Keefe decided to remove his belongings from Project Veritas headquarters. The board and management made numerous attempts in the last 14 days to have a conversation with James, but he ignored our outreach and decided to instead leak private information to others, either by doing so himself or by proxy. Press X to doubt. Yeah, it certainly looks that way. It certainly looks like this is and it's no mistake that this happened right after the Pfizer thing. Like, the Pfizer's behind this 100%. And anyone who doesn't see that is willfully blind. As today is President's Day, our office was closed. We had a board meeting scheduled for tomorrow where James was invited, and there was also a board meeting Friday, February 10, where James was invited, did not attend, to discuss the financial malfeasance that was discovered, which requires us to act in order to remain in compliance with the law. Yeah, I'm not buying the financial malfeasance thing. There were two subjects that the board wished to come to terms with James on: the company's long-term sustainability based on staff retention and morale, and the company's financial health, which has been a serious concern for several months now. Although Project Veritas leadership has not concluded looking into the full scale of financial issues over the years, a preliminary review at this time indicates that James has spent an excessive amount of donor funds in the last 3 years on personal luxuries. More is still being uncovered during the ongoing review at this time. Contrary to many reports from today, James was suspended indefinitely pending the resolution of a fulsome investigation and clarity, which will need to be provided by a third-party investigation audit report. They lost 20K first day or 2 followers. They lost 20K first day or 2. What do you mean 20K first day or 2 followers? Like they lost 20K in donors? And I'm not sure what you mean by 2 followers, PM. Here are a few examples of what has been uncovered so far by Project Veritas leadership. This is far from an exhaustive list, merely a small representative sample. $14,000 on a charter flight to meet someone to fix his boat under the guise of meeting with a donor. $60,000 in losses by putting together dance events such as Project Veritas Experience. Over $150 in black cars. In black. Okay, if black cars is their way of saying like rental cars to do stings and shit, that's more of a business expense because you need rental cars and temporary use cars to put together the signature stings they do. In followers in the first 2 days on YouTube. Okay. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, that does not surprise me because James O'Keefe really is Project Veritas when you look at it objectively, in my opinion. I mean, he started it. He's the entire essence of it. Over thousands of dollars spent on DJ and other equipment for personal use. Hundreds of other acts of personal inurement. The board wants to work things out with James and has tried every route possible to remedy the issues at hand and begin to take the legally required corrective actions. Press X to doubt. James has also left us no choice but to suspend him in the last few weeks when he unilaterally fired the CFO, who can only be fired with board approval. That is a violation of our nonprofit bylaws. James went as far as to say that a board member had approved this firing to others, but it was later discovered that it was not the case. That member did not approve the firing. Board approved James' suspension so it would have time to properly investigate these internal infractions. Board has legal obligation to comply with state and federal law, and these matters are serious ones that cannot be ignored. James claims that the board did not allow him to send an apology letter to the staff, which is not true. The board never told James he was not to speak with staff members, nor that he could not apologize to them. But more than anything, the board cares about the donors of this organization, specifically Pfizer, who decided to donate their hard-earned money to us because they believe in the mission. Sure they do. So who owns Project Veritas? I look at the LLC filing. If you can go look at the LLC filing for me and report back or give me a link to look at it, that'd be great. We will 100% do that. I personally would have no idea where to find that. Okay, give me a sec. Nice, thank you. Could we not apologize to them? But more than anything, board cares about the donors of this organization, hard-earned money, not allow our donors to send us money and have it to be misappropriated in such a way. We love our supporters and we would never sit idly by as money is being used for matters that are not mission related. Even with all of this public fallout, the board still wants to speak with James. We did not fire him, nor do we want him to resign. We would like to continue conversations with James to resolve internal matters rather than litigate them publicly. Yes, I'm sure you don't want them litigated publicly, because then the connections to Pfizer might come out. Bribes a little bit too public for your guys' comfort. Project Veritas will continue to be transparent with the public as more information can be released over time. The fight for truth will never stop. Yeah, press X to doubt. I don't know who this guy is. I have no idea who this Ben Cooley guy is. Is he part of Project Veritas? Or... because, I legitimately have no idea. Off the top of my head, that's about the Ohio train derailment. Off the top of my head, I don't know what else to say about the Project Veritas thing. I know Tim Pool did some reporting on that. I haven't watched his thing on it yet. Maybe I should, but I didn't watch it in advance. PM, are you having any luck finding that? They are out of Mamaroneck, New York. I've never even heard of that place. Okay, did you find out who owns them? Or are they... Because if they're a non-profit, then they might not be owned by any single person. They might technically be owned by the board of directors or whatever. I'm looking up LLCs right now. Project Veritas founder James O'Keefe says he's out, blaming board. The founder of far-right nonprofit Project Veritas says he's out, blaming the organization's board. So currently I have no job at Project Veritas. That's a funny way of saying that. O'Keefe said in a video posted on Vimeo, I have no position here based upon that board is done, so I'm announcing to you all that today, on President's Day, I'm packing up my personal belongings. Of all the places to announce it, he announces it on Vimeo. He was reportedly put on leave for his role as chairman earlier this month following numerous complaints from staff. In an internal memo, it detailed behavior called outright cruel by staffers who signed it, according to the Daily Beast. But that was proven to be bogus. Truth in wine? What do you mean truth in wine? Is that a Russian turn of phrase that I'm not familiar with, Dobry? A post on Project Veritas's website appeared to dispute O'Keefe's account. Even with all this public fallout, the board still wants to speak with James. We did not fire him, nor do we want him to resign. We would like to continue conversation with James to resolve internal matters rather than litigate them publicly. The Associate Press did not immediately receive comment from O'Keefe or others still with Veritas. O'Keefe was put on paid leave 2 weeks ago. A number of our staff members provided leadership with some verbal feedback describing real management concerns regarding the treatment of people and our internal processes, Project Veritas said in a statement at the time. The group is known for its sting operations, most notably an attempt to infiltrate the Washington Post. That is not the most notable. Their most notable is by far the Pfizer one, where they proved that Pfizer's doing gain of function. O'Keefe established the Mamaroneck, I have no idea how to pronounce that, New York-based group 13 years ago. It had about $20 million in revenue in 2021, according to IRS filings. On Monday, Project Veritas Executive Director Daniel Strack told some staff that O'Keefe had given the board an ultimatum, demanding that he would only stay if they resigned. The Post reported. Instead, they booted him. Very interesting. Very interesting. So yeah, I personally think that Pfizer got to one, probably more, of the members of the boards of directors at Veritas. I think that there's a lot of foul ball going on behind the scenes, but unfortunately I'm in no position to investigate or prove it. No info registered for Project Veritas in New York State or Federal Registry. Interesting. Greetings. This is Next Day Zach Pieper to tell you that at the end of recording from the stream, my chat clued me into the video that James O'Keefe posted on Vimeo, of all places. Like, who the fuck still posts on Vimeo? And in that, he basically tore the statement from the board of directors to shreds. And when I mean he tore it to shreds, I mean he came with receipts and proved that they were basically either straight up lying about several things in their statement or grossly misrepresenting for the obvious purpose of ousting him.
Off that, I had a stack of media coverage to the ceiling. We measure our success in terms of what we produce, not just in terms of our wallets. That was a pretty fundamental conflict, I felt. The day prior, I had informed him in front of his colleagues that if he wasn't willing to follow my lead, he'd be shown the door. I tried to deal with it privately, but I was unsuccessful, and the disagreement boiled over publicly in a staff meeting. The next day, this individual refused to resign, so I fired him. Later that same day, that's Thursday, February 2nd, a few days after the 50 million viewed Pfizer videos, I was informed by a different officer of Project Veritas that he would go to the board in a few hours from that moment and have an emergency vote to restructure this company. Receiving an agenda in my email while I was sitting on an airplane tarmac with the doors closing, the meeting was scheduled for the moment that my plane landed in Nashville. It became clear to me in that moment I would be removed from my position at Project Veritas by the time I landed at my destination. I bet you didn't know that. I have a copy of the emergency meeting here for you guys to take a look at. It's in writing. You could read it. You don't have to be there. You can read the minutes. They're official board minutes. They're written by a lawyer. It's with our staff. But the board refused to accept my apology, nor believe that it was sincere. They also did not support my sending it to the staff. I imagine many of you didn't even know that I drafted an apology. Then I was subject to a 6.5-hour listing of grievances, which included taking black cars to meetings. I don't know the significance of the color of the vehicle. And taking a few charter jets over the years to pack multiple PV meetings in a day. One of those jets, I think we had a meeting in New York, Wisconsin, and California in the same day, and it raised $2 million. But the revenue part was omitted. There was also some truly bizarre grievances, including my failure to record audio in one encounter at a bar in upstate New York, and an allegation that I stole a pregnant woman's sandwich in federal court. There were also discussions from a few staffers with donors in the boardroom. Donors were listening to some of this, and some of these were sent directly to donors without my consent. Donors who have no knowledge of my personal life and have no business asking questions about my personal life, about girls I've dated in the past. A fundraising colleague relayed, and again, this is going to start getting really strange, but this board meeting was video recorded. We'll get to that in a minute.
The thing asking about his past relationships, that's them trying to get a Me Too going. This is a hit job. They ousted him aggressively. I trust him over his board, and this is a hit job.
A fundraising staffer relayed, quote, concerns about my behaviors regarding videos where I, quote, literally chased a Twitter executive around New York. By acclamation from all of you, in 2022, that video about the Twitter chase was one of the most successful videos. But yet, your colleagues in a boardroom were expressing concerns about it. Every board member previously communicated their love of that video, but none pushed back in that moment when the staffer criticized it. Why? The attacks were so severe against me personally in that boardroom, and again, this is all video recorded, and I suggest that you ask for that. I will not provide that to you. The attacks were so severe that one board member asked, quote, is there anything James O'Keefe is good at? That's what your board member said. Oh, and by the way, this meeting was video recorded. I'm going to keep saying that. You may want to ask existing board members if they want to share that entire video with you. I suggest you request the entire 7-hour or so video to see for yourself what actually happened. You don't have to have been there. You simply need to watch the video and hear all of the testimony. After the 6 hours, I was asked what I had to say for myself. 6 hours, I was asked what I had to say for myself. I was given about 10 seconds to respond, and then I was dismissed.